It's May 9th, all day. And my name is Sean Shapiro, and this is Ask a Traffic Cop, where we answer your traffic and police questions for a full hour. Oh, yes. It is Monday, and as a Monday, we have lots of things to talk about. Things that you may not know about, because you come here to find out about the things that you don't know about, because we talk about things that you need to know. Yes. Oh, there's so much to talk about. The weather was nice. I got a lot of redness as a result of being in the sun for a long time, watching my kids play in the park. They had a great time. I met a nice person. I met someone who actually, the only other person in the park, walked up and said, "I watch you on TikTok." And there was cool because he brought his kids and my kids were playing and they played together. It was very nice. Okay, let's get Vision Zero out of the way, and we can get into the other stuff that we talk about. Vision Zero, the enforcement team, they go out and change driver behavior one ticket at a time. How do they do that? Well, they do it by looking for people who are breaking the rules, stop them, issue them a ticket, and hopefully that changes their behavior. They don't want another ticket, so they don't do it again. What kind of behavior are they looking for? They are looking for folks who are speeding, driving aggressively, driving distracted, or driving impaired. That's what they want to do. Those are the behaviors that lead to serious injury and death more often than not on our roads. Too many people die every year, and the ones that die on the roads are based on or as a result of collisions and behaviors that could have been prevented. It's just totally unacceptable. Where are they going to be today? They are in 13 Division and 55 Division. So those are neighborhoods, not just numbers and police stations. Communities are made up of neighborhoods. Yorkdale, Glen Park, Briar Hill, Witchwood, Oakwood Vaughan, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York. These are all areas, neighborhoods that are supported by those police divisions. And just because our people are there from the Vision Zero network or Vision Zero enforcement team today doesn't mean that there isn't enforcement all day long every day in those neighborhoods. It just means that there's more of it happening today because people with big brains are right there telling us to go to those areas on certain days because they need help. They need help to keep people safe. Okay, let's get into other stuff. Friday, we launched Erase. That's for ending. Well, now I'm going to say it wrong, but it's to keep street racing or racing activity off streets everywhere. And why? Why is that important? What are we looking for? We're looking for people who are violating the laws and putting lives at risk through their behaviors, but they're doing it in a different sort of specialized area. And very often we hear people from the car enthusiast community saying, "Hey, why are you coming after us? What do we do to you?" Well, what people are doing is they're congregating, they're making bad choices, having unsafe vehicles, and driving in a way that is not acceptable. So, in the theme of looking for people who are breaking the rules, there was a group of officers who went out and did just that on Friday night, and they had an amazing number of violations that they found, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Just a reminder, if you want to ask me questions, please do. Use the Q&A function in TikTok, on Instagram. That's the question mark in the bubble. That's how we're going to see you. That's how I'm going to see you. We do have moderators, volunteers, not police officers. They're in the chat, and they are watching, looking for answers or questions that they know the answer to, at which point they will answer it in the Q&A or in the chat. I won't see it, but there we go. Before we start, we have a very important question. And I'm going to pull up the poll for this first. And the question was tacos or pizza. I guess they want to know, is the question, would you prefer tacos or pizza? This is very near and dear to my heart because I like both. And I'd like to know, so smiley face for tacos because it's red, I don't know why, and blue for pizza. No rhyme or reason, blue being the crying face. I guess this is a yes-no thing. So if it's a smiley face, throw one up for tacos and the crying face for pizza. There seems to be more people interested in pizza than tacos. And I don't know, is it because it's less messy? It's easier. So you could possibly eat it when you're driving. I wouldn't suggest tacos while driving. It seems unsafe. Unless it's a soft taco, mind you, that could work. In any case, while those questions come in and tacos are losing out to pizza right now, but if you're watching us, please hit the screen. If you're on Instagram or on TikTok, hit it till your fingers go numb. It helps the algorithm know that what you're watching is worth sharing. And if you are also willing to share on all social media platforms or any social media platform that you're on, that would be much appreciated. So if you don't follow us, please follow us. If you are interested in seeing more of us, definitely follow us. And if you think others should see it, then share it either personally or through, as Q says, boop the snoop, tap the screen. And if you're watching on any of the other platforms that we're currently simulcasting on, you can also get us on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course Twitter. However, Twitter followers must apologize to you right now. You can't ask us questions through Twitter. Come over to our YouTube or our Twitch, and you will be able to actually be heard or seen or both. But if on Twitter you ask a question or make a comment, we won't see it because we can't. It just doesn't work. It used to work, isn't working right now. Hopefully it works again sometime soon. Let's get into some Q&A. But before we do, ahoy from Ryan Pinn. We've got Ryan, who is busy cleaning his car whilst listening to us. And Sebastian says, good morning from Facebook. Does anybody watch Moon Knight? Because I only 6 episodes of Marvel's Moon Knight, and I'm a bit obsessed. I think I'm going to have to rewatch it because it was a very interrupted, when the kids weren't around watching the show because it's too violent for them, and it was kind of spooky. They weren't up for it. They're too young, but I really enjoyed it, and the characters are phenomenal, and I'm obsessed with Mr. Abraham's voice, who does the voice of one of the main characters. And I don't want to ruin anything for anyone who hasn't watched it, but you know what? If you want to talk about this particular song, let's talk video. Let's talk about it. Oh, what was the results? Let's see here. So let's look at the results. It was 27-15 for pizza. Interesting. Okay, let's get into real business here. Q&A. Are steering knobs legal? These are the knobs that are attached to a steering wheel and allow you to I guess, one-handed roll that steering wheel. I grew up thinking they were illegal. I really believed that they were. Old cars had them, and I was just so confident that they were illegal. And I've been corrected that they are not illegal. Now, unless things change, I'm of the opinion that I grew up incorrectly, that I was told they were illegal when they weren't, and that they are illegal to have. I don't think they're a good idea personally. I don't think they're safe, but illegal, that's a different story. I do not believe that they're illegal. Okay, what is this? Why do you keep calling messaging following Al-Qassam? Oh, I'm not sure what we're talking about here. I think there's a user who made a video about us following their account. We've never called them, but apparently somebody did. Mark wants to know. Okay, let's see here. Have you seen the video? He's very funny. I assume he's a comedian, but I don't know for sure what the story is. Which car modifications are legal or illegal? The answer is a very long list of stuff that is illegal, and there's a long list that is legal. And knowing which one is which is not something that we can dedicate an entire show to. If you have particular questions, specific questions about individual items, please feel free. But to list everything is a little bit too involved for what we do here on Ask a Traffic Cop. But I must hydrate before we continue to educate. Okay. Is it illegal to vape and drive? The answer is, as long as there's nothing illegal in your vape juice, then that's not illegal. And as long as you don't have anybody in the motor vehicle that is under the age of 16, then it is legal. Obviously, if the fog is so dense that you can't see out, that is a different situation, and that's going to lead to serious injury or death because you can't see. But yeah, as long as there's no drugs or anything you cannot consume, and there's no kids in the car, then it's not illegal to vape or smoke. But if there are children, 15 and below, then it's going to be a Smoke-Free Ontario Act violation and illegal. Illegal. Okay. Stephen says, hi, good morning, and how are you today? I am great. I slept a lot over the weekend. I needed it. I got too much sun, and you can clearly see that on my face. Less so on YouTube and really well on TikTok, so that's a thing. What is this? Can I drink water while driving? Sometimes I grab my tea mug and drink tea while standing at an intersection. Is it allowed? It's a good question. And the answer is yes, you can consume beverages that are non-alcoholic and that are legal to consume, and you can eat without distracting. The big thing is you can't interfere with your ability to safely operate a motor vehicle. So whether you're driving, whether you're in motion or not in motion, if taking up, like this is my driving mug, this is my coffee mug while I go. It's a spill-proof one, so I don't end up burning myself because that could happen. But I'll drink this while I'm driving. It is not illegal, although I hear in some provinces it is. So Ontario is the one we're talking about, and that one, it's legal as long as it's not interfering with your ability to safely operate, which would turn into careless driving. So, if I'm drinking, but I'm getting that last drop up and I'm looking at the ceiling, well, that's going to be something where I'm not looking at the road. Okay, just a reminder to anyone who's asking questions, please put it in the Q&A. If you put it in the chat, you're going to be answered in the chat, and it won't be answered by me. It'll be answered by a member of our moderator community. Okay. Can you report cops for using their lights for no reason? I know it got cut off, but I can speculate as to what you meant. You can report whatever you think you're justified in reporting. However, it's not illegal for police to use their lights. It's not against the rules for us to speed as long as it's for a lawful purpose. And I would challenge you to know whether or not it's a lawful purpose. We are allowed to exceed the speed limit, and we don't have to have our lights active in order to do that. We're allowed to use our cell phones and other communication devices like two-way radios and computers because it's part of what we do. And there's exceptions under the Highway Traffic Act in Ontario that allow us to do it. I know it upsets people. Nobody likes it when we can do something that you can't. However, it remains that we can use things and do things that you can't. If you'd like to join the Toronto Police, we are hiring, www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers, and you too will be able to do things in the lawful execution of your duties. And I say that as a bit of a joke. If you're interested in joining, we are hiring, and we can talk all about that. But folks who get upset when some people get jobs, but they never applied for them, or they're upset that there are different rules for different people. It's because there's different rules for different people. And part of our job requires us to do things like arrest people, like execute search warrants and do things that, again, people who are not police officers cannot do. But in the case of using lights and using cell phones and so on, that's actually not just police. It's police, fire, and ambulance who have the ability to do that. All right, let's move on to other things. Oh, using them to pass red lights, also legal. See, we could be going to a call where the lights are off, our emergency equipment is off. We're still going to a call even though we haven't activated it. In order to cross through an intersection that is controlled by an automated traffic signal, and it's displaying a red signal for us, in order for us to cross against that, we have to activate our full emergency equipment, lights and siren, or lights and air horn, or some of their combination. And then once we get to the other side, we can turn it off again because we are only obligated to turn it on while we're going through the intersection. So, again, you can certainly make a report if you think that there was wrongdoing. However, everything is recorded in our system. We're GPS navigated and we are tracked. Even when we put our lights on, it is monitored and our dispatch can see it. So, and it also activates our cameras. So there's a recording of it. So there's no hiding anything. We're not looking to hide anything. If we do that, we're doing it. And it's for a lawful purpose. It's totally justified. What is this? What if PO parking not in a parking lot to grab coffee? What if PO parking? I don't know. Oh, I really don't know what you mean. Underglow colored fog lights wrap window banner? Maybe it's windshield banner? Okay, so let's underglow is not specifically illegal. However, if it is installed incorrectly, may violate the Highway Traffic Act. For instance, if the bulbs are visible and it's projecting lights forward, back, side to side, and that may violate some headlight or rear-facing light charges, or at least laws, which may result in charges. Fog lights, any forward-facing light can only be yellow or white. That's for projected headlights, and fog lights would be considered headlights. So, you can't have anything other than yellow or white. Wraps, if you change the color of your vehicle significantly, so you change by way of wrapping, not wrapping with a song. But if you wrap it a different color, you have to notify the Ministry of Transportation, and you have 6 days to do that, or you can be violating the law and get a ticket for that. And I assume window banner is windshield banner. Windshield banners are prohibited. You can't put things that block the driver's view. So if you put words on the windshield, it's against the law. Now, if you talk about having a vehicle with a tint strip, because Q threw up on the screen again. She does that. I mean, queasy she is. So she put up on screen saying, remember 2016. So for having windshield banners, it's actually against the law anytime. You cannot put anything in the driver's view. And if you're putting it low on the windshield or anywhere that the windshield wipers travel or sweep, that's against the law. If you're talking about the top of the screen, if you have a vehicle that is 2016 or older, you can have a tint strip, but not a banner. There are some manufacturers that from factory, they have a banner. It's up high as part of the manufactured glass, bonded, not a film. Which, I don't know, it's different. Why it's different, I don't know. Ryan Pinn says, I put too much soap in the carpet, been vacuuming one spot for a few minutes. Well, this is good. We're getting a play-by-play as to how Ryan focuses on cleaning his car. Ryan is a driving instructor in Nova Scotia who tunes in on a regular basis and is a friend to the show. Let's see here. Can you drive on the 400 with a G? Yeah, so 500 series, 400 series. There's no 500 series. The question is, with a G2 driver's license, can you drive on the 400 series highways? Yes, you can. You can drive basically anywhere with a G2. The restrictions are for 0 BAC, which is blood alcohol content, and then there are some other restrictions in the first 12 months of driving with a G2. But it is good that you asked the question. But I'm surprised. But yeah, because the 400 series exclusion, or any highway with a speed limit over 80 kilometers an hour, that exclusion it applies to a G1 driver only. Okay. What? 83 and a 60 were 3 points because a cop said no. Oh, okay. In Ontario, a ticket of 83 and a 60 would be 23 over. So yeah, it's 3 demerit points. It's 0 points when you are under 16 kilometers over the limit. But points don't matter really to insurance companies. Any ticket, speeding of 1 kilometer over is a speeding ticket, and they would take that against you. If you're talking about accumulating points to lose your license or be forced into an education program, that's where points come into play. It's a ministry transportation thing, not a courts thing. And people really focus on points. Really, you should just not speed. But yeah, 23 over is 3 demerit points. Once you hit 30 over, I think it goes to 4 demerit points. But you know what? I can look this up because I have this, and I don't really focus on points, but let's talk about it. Because we're talking about 3 demerit points until you hit 30, and at 30, it goes to 4 demerit points, and then it stays 4 demerit points all the way up until you hit 50, and then it goes to 6 demerit points. Hello, Sergeant Campbell. How are you? Welcome back. He doesn't have a microphone yet. He can't respond. But Sergeant Campbell has returned to the office after a hiatus away doing fancy stuff. You now have a microphone, and you are able to communicate.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning, Sergeant Campbell. Did you get as much sun as Sean did?
Actually, we match.
I think we do, yeah.
I might have a little more red going on.
You know what? We both have about the same amount of coverage on top there.
Our solar panels are phenomenal.
How is everybody?
I can't complain. I'm happy to be back in the office, although I miss my kids, and I need to stay away from the sun, and there is no sun in here. Bright lights aside, there's no sun in here.
So we're good.
We're good. What's the next question we can talk about? No license ticket. So a ticket for not surrendering your license. Can you bring it within 24 hours to drop? I assume you mean like to show it to a police officer at a police station. Once upon a time, that may have been a thing, and different jurisdictions may offer different, specials and deals. Toronto Police does not do that. If you are issued a ticket for failing to surrender your license, it's at that point that you've committed the offense because you haven't surrendered your license. Surrendering it 24 hours later is really not relevant.
Yeah, we used to have 48-hour reports that we used to be able to do for things like that. Headlight offenses, on that, because the whole idea was to get the problem fixed.
Fix-it tickets is in some jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And now it's essentially, once we've issued it, you can take it to court and show the courts that you fixed it. They may or may not choose to dismiss it at that point, but we don't take tickets back.
And you know what? I think it was found back then, although good for drivers, but it didn't actually fix the problem. It didn't motivate people to actually keep their car safe and keep their documents where they should be because there was no consequences. So
that, and we're just such a large city, and there's so much going on. For the thousands of officers we have on the road, if we were inviting everyone to the station, it would just make for more work than just fix it.
Yeah.
You're responsible for maintaining your vehicle. You're responsible for driving safely. And downloading those as to, oops, I'll get it done after, really, I don't think it works. But there is the option still of warnings, and a warning can be issued with no need to follow up and come in. But it's just that, a warning. And hopefully at that point you take care of it. And you don't get warnings for everything, and there's no rule that says you must get a warning. It's all up to the discretion of the officer. Let's see. We have Stephen who says, welcome back, Sergeant Campbell.
Well, thank you, Stephen. I'm glad to be back. Although I did have fun.
I imagine we can talk about what you did, or can we talk about what you did? Some of a secret squirrel?
I was up at a course in Ottawa, and we'll just
Leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Ottawa course, Secret Squirrel.
Yeah.
BB Girl Tattoo says, I think she's going through all of the different modifications, specifically asking, because earlier I said I can't make the whole episode all about mods, which are legal, which aren't, but she's broken it down to specifics. So let's, exhaust systems can be legal or not, depending if they meet the requirements, so that could be a violation. Stickers in the back window, those can be covering the entire window. As long as you have a mirror view to the rear, then it's safe. So you don't even have to have if you think about a panel truck or a moving truck, they don't have rear mirrors in the windshield, and they don't have rear windows. So if it is obstructed view from the rear window, you have to have a side view mirror to the back for safety. And then tinted windows. We have an entire video, which I totally suggest you watch. It is available on our FAQ playlist. But the quick breakdown is that you can have, hold on a second, where do we have here? Make sure the volume's down. Yes, that's that. I think that's the best tinted window one. But points for asking. And then we have so tinted windows. Nothing on the front windshield. Windows left and right of the driver can have no more than 30% light blockage. That means 70% of the light must get through. And the windows to the back of the vehicle, behind the driver and to the rear, can be as dark as you want. You can paint them solid if you wish. Again, the requirement being that you have a rear view mirror or side mirror view to the back of the vehicle for safety. So that is the answer to those. And we'll see if she can come up with some more.
All right.
Are bumper deletes legal? I do not understand why anyone would want to remove a bumper. Bumpers are safety equipment. They, oddly enough, reduce the impact of collisions. They are safer for pedestrians when they are struck. You'd think, why would if you take a bumper off, the chances of a pedestrian being sucked underneath the vehicle are higher than if the bumper is not there. There's a number of reasons why bumpers are required. So deleting them would be illegal.
Well, there's a difference. There's
Okay.
a difference between passenger vehicles that have a higher safety standard, and they must have the minimum 5 mile an hour bumpers. But utility vehicles like pickup trucks are different.
Oh.
And different situations call for, they have a different standard. I've seen lots of pickup trucks that actually come from the factory without.
Bumperless.
Bumperless.
Now, front bumper, rear bumper, any bumper, all bumpers?
I'm just talking the rear bumper.
Okay, because I can see where rear bumpers wouldn't be there because you might be putting it may be shipped without the cap or back or
Yep,
maybe
a box on the back or a
trailering.
custom one, or like transport trucks don't have any rear bumpers. But,
Good point.
But they certainly do have a front one.
Front bumpers, and that's really where I'm focusing on because I'm thinking about hitting pedestrians and whatnot. I'm not thinking about hitting pedestrians, but I'm thinking in a situation where pedestrians get hit.
I'm thinking most people, especially with pickup trucks, sometimes will remove their rear bumper and they just put a pan in the back there to kind of modify it to make it look good. As long as the lights are good, they may not be required.
Interesting.
Depending on the situation and how your truck's registered.
So consult with a mechanic that you trust, and hopefully they get good advice. A couple of comments that have come in. Smunch, a new follower, unless they've recently changed their name. And I assume following, I just make the assumption that you're on Twitch watching us and you've obviously followed us because you want to keep watching it. So this is the Canadian Police, and good morning to you too. The question is, I'm in Calgary. I assume the same laws are similar. So because I think you're safe to assume that because the vast majority of what we discuss is going to be applying everywhere. The rules of the road. We're allowed to drive in Calgary, and you're allowed to drive in Ontario. So if they were so different that they would be completely opposite, they probably wouldn't allow us to drive in the same place. But there will be differences when it comes to things like cost of speeding tickets, the fines, differences in certain regulations, like how much tint you could have could be different. Certain things may be different, but the vast majority, I think you're safe to assume it's very similar, if not the same.
It won't be exactly, but they'll be on the same theme because they both want to promote safety and safe travels.
We've had a lot of people ask, why don't we just make one? We have a criminal code for all of Canada. Why don't we have a safety code for traffic across Canada?
You know what? Each province has its own issues to deal with. Driving a car, say in Nunavut, where I have actually been before, is totally different from driving a car in Ontario, downtown Toronto. Anywhere in the GTA is totally different from that. So, you know what? Different factors play into it. So they may have to have special laws in effect to take into account that. Wintertime, you must have snow tires in Quebec. Absolutely, against the law to drive without them. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. They have very serious winters there.
They do.
But it would be interesting to require those in Vancouver.
Exactly. So, you know what? Different areas, different situations call for different mandatory requirements.
Okay, Smunch wants to know, since we're dealing with a follow up with Smunch's stream of questions, will license plates now don't require a tag saying what year it was registered for. How is this a good thing? I don't know if we can say it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a different thing. The truth is, we will always verify tags regardless of what the clue on that license plate used to say. It was just that, a clue, where we investigate further. Now, instead of checking to see if the sticker matches the files with the Ministry of Transportation, we're just checking the same. We're making sure that they are valid. And I think it's going to cause a lot more investigations. So it may actually be more beneficial than once thought.
Well, yeah, we may be pulling over an awful lot more people looking for the paper documentation on their ownership to make sure that's up to date, verifying that with the ministry computer system. You still need to have an updated permit, just like we did before. Mm-hmm. They're just not issuing a sticker for it. Your plate needs to be up to date. It needs to be valid.
Yes, that is a big thing. Some people are getting confused and don't realize you go online, you renew your plates, and then now in Ontario it's free. It still needs to be done, and there's a lot of discussion about regular safety checks, which may be coming down. I've not heard anything official yet as to what's happening in that regard.
I've heard rumors both ways, that it is and that it isn't, and it's only a certain class of vehicles that are going to have it. And so, you know what? Until they tell us, and sometimes we're the last to know.
Us, the people who are asked to enforce said laws. Say it ain't so. Tracy Bell says the bumper delete is possibly just the polymer fascia, not the actual structure underneath. I'm really not familiar with the concept if it's anything other than removing bumpers, but at the end of the day, removing any portion of a safety device could change the way it handles. You know, if you take away the polymer and there's padding in there, or there's something meant to I don't know. I would assume that you shouldn't mess with safety stuff, but it could be a variation. So when you're asking something, be specific. We may not know the jargon you're using. And
just like it's been said before here, that vehicle manufacturers, they want to make money, and they will do. Some vehicle manufacturers will do the minimum they're required to do for safety, so they can make more money on selling their vehicles. So if it came with bumper fascia or a bumper cover on there, it probably needs to be there to work in conjunction with everything else that's underneath.
I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, but because you've got numbers and letters. But the question is it illegal to have a Wi-Fi Android screen installed in your car which plays YouTube? And the answer is, would you like to take this one?
You know what? You can have it in the back of the car. You can use it when you're not operating the car, maybe in a parking lot, camping, that sort of things. No, you cannot have it on when you're driving.
There's a specific charge. So your distracted driving laws include handheld communication devices, handheld entertainment devices, and screen visible to driver. And that's really specifically for folks. And I've pulled up beside people who are full on watching television.
Crazy.
On their phones, on devices, on laptops. Unbelievable. How anyone thinks this is okay, I do not know. Maybe they just don't have any time.
You know what? I had a previous car that I could do it. I could stream it right onto the dash. There was a safety feature on there that had to be in park for it to work, and it was easily overridden. Let's just say that. I didn't do it, but I can see how
somebody did that.
And you know what? If you do it, that's it.
Well, it's just it's something that tells the vehicle that's in park to override most of the safety systems. So people do things to play with that. Okay, we already covered this one. Let's go here. Okay, am I allowed to have a heart-shaped headlight? So this would involve putting on a cover to restrict the light to come out. And you can't put any kind of covers on your headlights. There's a specific charge because they're expected to operate and throw light in a specific direction. When you put heart-shaped filters or covers on them, you're changing it. And I think it looks really cute, and it shouldn't be done for road use. I think as a show car it could work.
If you could find headlights that meet the safety requirement, and you can install them on your car, and they're heart-shaped, and that works, it still meets the safety requirement, go ahead. Don't change what you got already, though.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Things may look and may even get you where you're going while able to see, but if it's seen and interpreted by the investigating officer as a violation, you're going to have to articulate that in court, regardless of whether you're right or you're wrong. If it's deemed to be unsafe or falling into the category of a cover or a coating, that's going to be a problem. Most people tend to put coatings inside their headlight lenses to change the shape of the light thrown or to look a certain way, and that's against the law. Let's see here. The question was, do you have to have parking enforcement experience in order to become a parking enforcement officer? And the answer is no. Nor do you have to have police officer experience to get hired as a police officer. We have a police college. We hire and we train people once they get hired. So we are currently hiring police officers. I don't know if we're currently hiring parking enforcement officers, but check out our website because all that information is available right there. www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers. And in case anyone is here and doesn't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. answering your traffic and police questions. We're pretty chill. It's Monday. We're taking our time, trying to get through everybody's, questions. So if you don't already follow us, please do. And if you don't get your stuff answered today, come back and see us another day because we keep doing this.
Maybe it's chill for you in the QA, but there's a debate in the chat. Do you want to
What is the debate? Let's hear it.
Okay, someone said in chat that, is it legal for police officers to hide while they're checking speed limits? Somebody else responded with, no, that's entrapment.
This is a great debate. For the people who think it's entrapment, they're absolutely incorrect. Entrapment means that I go and do something and cause you to act a certain way. I entice you to do it. If I go and I say, listen, buddy, I want you to go and race with me. The winner gets $100, and then I arrest you for racing. I've invited you. I've created a situation where you have become involved in that you wouldn't have done it otherwise. So you weren't going to race, but I asked you to race, or I tried to promote racing, and then I said I'm going to make a movie with you racing, or I'm going to ask you to do donuts while I'm filming you, and then I arrest you for making donuts. That would be entrapment. Videotaping you when you do, monitoring traffic, looking for people who are breaking the law, hiding or not, is not entrapment. You're doing it because you're doing it, not because I made you do it. And that's the biggest difference. So hopefully that ends the debate, and the people who, why is my wire, I've got my headphones going, doing wonky things right now. Left, right. Hold on a second. I need to get my adapter here. What's going on? Okay. Oh, weird stuff going on with my headphones. Don't like that at all. As I was speaking, he was switching between left and right ear. Yuck. Okay. What do we got here? Questions, so many questions. So what's the response now to that statement, Q?
I don't know. You can pull it and ask the chat.
Well, we've already answered it. So what's the poll going to be? Do you like the answer?
Yeah. Do you like the answer? Yes or no? Do you agree or disagree?
Well, yeah, no. There's no other answer. Okay. I should have put it to a poll before. What's the problem with tinted windows? Zach wants to know. So here's a couple of things. One, we need to be able to see inside the vehicle. I know everybody wants to pick their nose, and that's why they tint their windows. I assume automatically when I see a tinted window that you have your finger knuckle deep in your nose. That's just what it is. But the answer truly is that we need to be able to see if you're using your cell phone, wearing your seatbelt, drinking alcohol, whatever the story is. We need to be able to see inside your vehicle. But we're not the only ones as police who need to see inside. Pedestrians who are trying to cross the street and make eye contact with drivers, so those nonverbal communication cues to let them know that it's safe to travel in front, that the driver's switched on, paying attention, and sees them. Yeah, that's a thing. And then also, we need people to be able to identify drivers who are involved in criminal activity or involved in collisions, to give descriptions. So if you have a blacked out car, we can't see in, pedestrians can't see in, nobody sees in, it's a problem. But that's only one side of it. The other side is you have to be able to see out of your vehicle. And I know people say, I see just fine. Yeah, great. But vision, it works on light. The less light you actually get in your eye, the less you see. You may be able to make out what's happening, but you don't have the same level of vision quality as you do with more light. In fact, the older you get, the more light you need. Once you hit 35, 40 years old, you need twice as much light to see the same as you did when you were younger. That doesn't mean that young people can have tinted windows and old people can't. It means that nobody should be tinting their windows and making it less safe. Now, I say nobody should tint their windows. There are maximum limits for tinting for that reason. 30% light blockage is permissible for safety standards, but atmospheric conditions still apply. And if it's dark out and the tint is dark and we can't see in or you can't see out, it's still illegal. So you may have a car that's only okay to drive during the day. Who'd have thunk? What's the problem? The problem is people get hurt because of tinted windows. And many people think it's cool to look, but think it's cool to have a cool looking car, but don't appreciate the other side of it. And I understand why, because it doesn't help them get tint. But I'm glad you asked a question, and Zach, ask more questions, because that was a good question. What was the hardest thing you did on the job? There's a lot of hard things I've done in this job. As a police officer, I've gone to many scenes and been involved in investigations where people were no longer with us, no longer alive, through various reasons, whether it be through criminal activity or just because they passed away. And interacting with the families and seeing them and being there while they're going through horrible pain and suffering is never easy, and that takes a toll. But there's tons of things that I've done and challenges that I had that were very positive. So it's a very long and complex conversation. So I'm going to move on. But you know what? Things that maybe I'll do it. We'll do some of our podcast on that. We have a podcast, in case you didn't already know, and that podcast is available anywhere that podcasts are available, which is like, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so on. It's called TPS Traffic Jam, and we are interviewing people all the time. We are on episode number 3. Episode number 4 is coming soon, and we've got people booked right up until the next 90 days, so we'll be building a lot of episodes and hope to keep you guys interested and challenged and entertained as you drive, because you can listen to a podcast while you drive safely. Hopefully you can listen to it safely. Without the distraction of wanting to listen to us live. Although it's totally different content, it's not Q&A. Let's see what's going on here.
Can minors drive on private property?
Minors cannot be charged for driving on private property if they're unlicensed. That doesn't mean it's a good idea. It doesn't mean that they won't get charged for certain things. But it does mean that you can't be charged specifically under the HTA. You can still get stunt driving charges under the HTA for stunt driving on private property, regardless of your license status. And I hope that covers the answer they're looking for. But you obviously had to get the car somewhere, so be careful. Be careful driving anywhere.
Speaking of minors in cars, can we talk about car seats and front seat and buckles and boosters?
Okay, we can do that. So car seats or child safety restraints must be used until a child is 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9". That is, any one of those threes meet the criteria to legally allow a child to sit in the seat proper. But it doesn't mean it's the safest time to do it. They should. There's another I believe it's 5 points of safety that you should check, and that's to make sure that their legs are long enough that they go over the end of the seat, and their back is flush against the seat. They need to be big enough that they can be safely in there. My kids will remain in a booster seat until the booster says they shouldn't be in it. Now, in terms of seating position within the motor vehicle, should they be in the front seat, back seat? Well, there's no law that says they have to only be in the back seat or only be in the front seat until a certain age. However, the suggestion from the professionals, the medical people, is that they remain in the back seat until they are 14 years old and then they can come to the front seat. You might be 6'5" and 13. That's great, but the doctors still say that you have not finished your skeletal development until you're about 14. So safety says back. Now it's not illegal to be in the front. It's just not as safe. And let's go on. There were some good questions here. How can you see if I buckle after you pull me over? You know what? We do all sorts of things to look inside vehicles to see if you are wearing your seatbelt. It's not just a buckle, it's a shoulder strap. It's not just after you pulled over, it's before I pull you over. If I'm pulling you over for your seatbelt, I've already made my observations prior to pulling you over. Are you the one that reports death to the family? I have gone to report death to families, yes. Generally speaking, it's a sergeant who does that. Sometimes you accompany a sergeant to do it. But yes, I've been involved in notifications. And and sometimes you're investigating on the scene, or you're with someone who survived but the other person didn't, or they got to the scene while you're there investigating the scene. So it very often you're involved with the family, and it's heartbreaking to see someone go through that loss. What do we have here? What if a PO parking not in parking to grab a coffee? What if a PO parking not in the parking? I don't know what the question is. Gamer Gan, he wants to know. Okay, here's a, what is this? Weird one. Is it a fine if you hit a Canadian goose? I think they're a protected species that you get special extra charges, but I've never charged anybody for doing that. But I've never had anybody hit a goose. You certainly can't aim for them. That's not allowed. But I don't know the ins and outs of Canadian goose. I know that there was it a seagull where a baseball player like hit a ball and killed the bird and then got charged criminally. Yeah, I don't know. If you need to pay a ticket, how would you do that? All the instructions on how to pay a ticket are printed on the back of your ticket. Either take it to a court, you can take it to most banks. You can just paying it is easy. If you're challenging it, that's a different story. Are the Blue Series license plates recalled? I do not believe that they are recalled, although they should because they stink. You can't see them; they're just useless. But I don't believe they are yet. What is this? Do cops chase a speeder up to a certain speed on the highway? There's no specific speed that we would give chase. Obviously, if a speeder is speeding, we are going to go and identify that vehicle, and then we are going to put it over the air. We're going to make sure who it belongs to. And if someone decides to not pull over, that's going to escalate things. See, if we activate our lights and you don't pull over, that becomes a pursuit. The pursuit will continue if it's justified, but very often we've already recorded your license plate. We'll just meet you at your house and lay charges there. Here's a good question. Camber on wheels as well as lowering cars, yes or no? I would not suggest messing with your suspension unless you are a specialist in the field. People do things to make it look cool, and then cars slide off the roads because the vehicle's suspension is no longer doing what it was designed to do, which is help you glue that car down to the road. And I mean that suspension helps maintain contact patches as your car travels and changes the dynamics of the weight and how it's distributed to the wheels and tires and the road. Playing with it and doing things like camber can really mess with that, especially when it's done for the way a car looks as opposed to making it handle better. The wheels that are the center of the rim is facing the sky, and it's riding on the edge, the bead or not the bead, but the edge of the tire. Check out something I retweeted on VoiceOver Cop over the weekend. There was a car that had heavy camber. Look what it did to the tires. It wore them out unevenly, and it would have caused a blowout. Fortunately, they were pulled off the road for unsafe because they were investigated as a result of the race and kickoff on Friday. In any case, don't do the camber thing, and anything you do with lowering your vehicle, make sure it's done safely and according to a professional's design, not like just doing your own thing and buying a kit on Amazon. Okay. Having red license plate lights legal? No, it must be white light, at least 3 candela of power. White light only for license plate lights. That is a heat score if I've ever seen one. And it's an easy charge because you can't have it. And it's a light, so we see it from a mile away. Purple, red, all the colors of the rainbow. They're all illegal. All right. What do we got here? Peter Gallagher with a question. When will police normally charge for careless driving? It used to be, and careless driving can be so many different things. And it's the undue care and attention while driving. So what constitutes that? More often than not, it's when multiple offenses are taking place. So you're speeding and you run a red light or a stop sign, or you're speeding and you're changing lanes unsafely. Usually, it's a combination of two things, and the courts want us to lay charges that are most appropriate. So if you just run a stop sign, it may be careless, but stop sign covers it. So that is generally the threshold. If it's more than one offense, that's not a rule. That's just generally the threshold. Most rear-end collisions tend to be careless driving. Could be a lot of things, but more often than not, it tends to be careless driving because you were doing something other than paying attention, or you were driving too quickly and weren't paying attention and didn't stop in time. Like, there's a combination of things. So very often, careless driving is for rear-ending somebody. What is this? Ooh, Beagle fur and Chevy carpet equals a lot of wet vacuuming. Ryan Pinn is still very busy cleaning his car. Okay, question from CKT. Hi, Sean. How should a driver handle being followed too closely by another driver on the highway? Is this considered aggressive driving? It absolutely is aggressive driving. How should you handle it? Change lanes, get out of their way, let the bozo pass you. If they persist to be on your rear end, that might be something more than simple aggressive driving and following too close. It may be road rage. It may escalate. That might be something where pull off and go to the closest police station or call police, because that may be something more serious. And you really need to be aware of your surroundings. And if someone's that close, I wouldn't suggest speeding up, but certainly changing lanes and getting out of the way. And that at least gets them off your rear end. And if they persist, now they've changed the games. It's not someone just trying to get you out of the way or pass. It's more aggressive than that. What is this? What is this? How can colorblind people see the traffic lights? In Ontario, red is on top, amber is in the middle, green is on the bottom. That would be a clue. I imagine it would be less fun if they were in reverse land where it was upside down, but I'm not aware of anywhere in Ontario that would have a light in it, set up in any other arrangement.
What's the charge and what's the fine for failing to move over for emergency vehicles?
I think it's $325. Is it $390 or $325? Let's have a look. You'd think I would know this more, but most people are good and pull over. Emergency. Let's see here. Emergency. $490. $490, and I think 3 demerit points. Yeah, it is 3 demerit points.
What's the specific charge called again?
Well, there's a couple depending on which is most appropriate. You've got fail to stop nearest edge of roadway for emergency vehicle, and there's other sections. We're just discussing, Sergeant Campbell is back. We're just discussing the offense of failing to pull over for an emergency vehicle. Now, I think that is the best one. There's two. There's fail to stop nearest curb for emergency vehicle, and then there's fail to stop nearest edge of roadway. So same thing, fail to stop on right for emergency. So it's 3 different subsections depending on the specifics of what and where they were.
Exactly. And on one-way roads or multi-lane roads, you can pull either to the left or to the right. Pull to the right is the most common, and that's kind of what we expect you to do, and we're hoping you do because it makes it safer. On two-way roads, you have to pull to the right because you can't just go to the middle of the road and stop there.
That would be unsafe.
That would be.
And we see people who do some pretty strange things. And this is sort of the conversation as to why we very often don't use our lights when going somewhere quickly. And that's not to say we do 150 on a side street. We're not driving. We are driving with a speed differential. We're going faster than the flow of traffic because we have to get somewhere. It's the lights and sirens are great for clearing traffic, for telling people to move over and get out of the way. But I can tell you, people will stop on a dime. They see the lights and they're like, "Oh my God, they're after me!"
I was going somewhere fairly quickly on the 401. Had to get there, arrive very quickly due to a dangerous situation, and I had a lady in front of me. She just slammed on her brakes. 4-wheel lockup on the 401,
Lovely.
right in front of me.
Lovely. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yep, almost caused a huge pileup.
I don't get it because we put so much of an emphasis on this kind of education, and these are things that people should know. That's one of them. Yeah. It's a big one. Are loud train horns legal?
You want me to take that one?
Well, here's my take on it. I don't think there's a decibel limit on a horn if it's being used appropriately. If you're using it for the right reason and not scaring the heck out of grandma, then I think you'd be justified in installing and using a train horn. Now, I know many manufacturers, especially in European vehicles, will put a city horn and a highway horn because different horn volumes, not to wake the neighbors and first of all, Europeans, when I've traveled across Europe, there's a communication protocol. You can actually have a full-on conversation by horn. Hello, goodbye. It's all beep 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 beep, and then there's and there's oh wait, and very different than. So the deal is that you could have train horns, but if you're using it, it's unnecessary noise. You can be charged for that. Okay. Sorry. It was just such a great opportunity to talk about my favorite topic of making noise. But sirens you cannot have. You can't install that into your personal vehicle. That would be illegal simply for having it installed.
Yep, absolutely.
Can two motorcycles park in one car spot? Aaron's not here, but if it's pay and display or if it's not, you could have more than one motorcycle. And in the city of Toronto, it's free to park motorcycles and pay and display on the street, not inside of a parking lot.
I don't actually know the answer to that, but it seems reasonable.
Yeah, as far as especially on street parking, the whole idea of having the green P pay and display for free is that you can stack them, and because you don't have to pay,
Yep.
You put them together. 4 or 5 motorcycles in one parking spot, totally legit.
Yep, absolutely.
But and then also in parking lots, you could have more than one because I used to do that all the time.
Yeah, but just don't block the vehicles or other motorcyclists,
Yeah.
so they can get out.
Question. Okay, what are vertical license plates illegal? So license plates need to be mounted in such a way that they can be easily and readily read. They have to be legible. Vertical, I would say, is arguable that it's not.
Yes, absolutely.
It has to be horizontal as prescribed by the.
And you know what? If you're flipping it around and trying to confuse the identity of your plate, including the numbers and letters that are on there, then there's a charge for that.
Yes. Police in Ontario do not chase over a certain kilometers, yeah or no? The answer is depends. We always take the safety of the public into account. Are we going to chase someone to 200 kilometers an hour recklessly through a city for someone who blew a stop sign? Probably not. Again, before I even turn my lights on, I know you're who you are, and at very least who the vehicle is, and who it's owned by, and where they live. So I don't need to chase you. I've identified the vehicle. If you killed someone or if you kidnapped somebody, would that increase the chances? Threat to public safety. It's always going to be depends.
Yep, there's no answer to that. Maybe not. Maybe in this scenario, maybe not in the next. So.
But we do things. We have these radios. They're amazing. They tell people what we tell them. We shout out. All of our friends are listening all the time. We can bring more friends to the party. We can get roads closed. We can do things.
Yep, absolutely.
So it all depends. But nobody wants to increase speed and put the public at risk because that would be counterproductive. Yep. We're trying to protect people. Let's see here. Best motorcycle company in your opinion? I don't have a best. I mean, I like a bunch of different ones, but a best? Can I truly say best? Nor do I think I'm permitted to endorse any one particular company. I like them all. I like Harleys for Harley stuff. I like Hondas for Honda stuff. There's bikes in the entire lineup that I like.
Yeah, there's depends on the day, on the mood, where you're going, what you're doing.
Yeah, I will say I like comfortable motorcycles.
My neighbor across the road has a BMW single-cylinder 650 Dakar, and I didn't think I would like it. It's a single-cylinder 650cc. I thought it would be
a thumper.
A thumper, quite literally, and it was the smoothest, nicest bike, one of the nicest ones I've ridden. I liked it.
Yeah, I like motorcycles, like that. Just period. I like motorcycles.
I like everything.
Yeah. Okay.
I like all vehicles.
They're all cool. The reason I'm in this game is because I like stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What mods can we legally make for our exhausts? That's such a, again, open question. But generally speaking, you can modify for a freer flowing exhaust system, but they have to be legal modifications. People remove big chunks of product that need to be there for various reasons. And when you take them out, they are less legal or not legal for that matter. So whatever modifications you make sure they're legal ones. And what do we have here? Wheel spacers. Generally speaking, wheel spacers do things that make the vehicle less safe. They stick the tire out beyond that of the fender. We're talking about wheel spacers and whether they're legal. Why would anyone put wheel spacers on if not to make the vehicle appear wider?
Well, making a vehicle wider in some circumstances is actually better, depending on what you're doing with it. But it does have to be covered. It does have to remain within the allowable width limit. People use wheel spacers if they're changing their rims. And the offset on the rim
interesting.
is different to bring it back to where it should be. Or they do it to make it super wide. And
See, I'm glad you're here because I would never have thought that. Very often Sergeant Campbell does things that are just enlightening, like the light bulb that went off when he said, we have to be able to look inside to see if people are wearing their seatbelts. I'm like, I've never used that. I had never used that description or that reason as one of the reasons why tint was illegal. And here we go. I never thought about the offset and the design of the rim. Never thought of it. But because more often than not, I see wheel spacers as a reason to put these ridiculous wheels that stick out well beyond the wheel well.
Yeah, but if you've got aftermarket rims that have a negative offset, then it would just bring it out to normal.
Totally makes sense. Light bulb is on. I'll forever remember that until I forget it.
And you know what? A lot of people use spacers are in conjunction with adapters. So if your wheel bolts are a certain size, the truck I drive is an oddball size. Most people, when they're using aftermarket rims on it, have to have an adapter to bring it to a more common one so they can not have to spend expensive money to get a limited supply of rims designs.
I like it. What is this? Okay, we've had this question a couple of times. I don't think I've covered it yet. Did I cover it? Maybe, possibly? No, I don't know. We'll come back to it. But we should mention tps.on.ca/careers is the website to go if you're looking to become a member of the Toronto Police Service. There's a lot of police services hiring. We just happen to be the best one.
Well, I think so, too.
I'm a little bit biased. It might be because of the patch on my shoulder and the fact that I've spent the last 23 years as a member of this. 23 years? 23 years. No, 22 years.
You're old.
I'm not that old, but I'm oldish. Over 22 years. I'm approaching the completion of my 23rd. And I'm still as happy to be here as I was on day one. It's a great place to work. If you would like to get more information about joining, www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers or the abbreviated version that Q put up on the screen.
And I have an answer for you for on-street motorcycle parking.
Oh.
You can fit more than one in a single vehicle parking spot. There's no problem with that at all. As long as it doesn't stick out past the normal allowable painted surface that would hold a vehicle safely.
I wonder then if it did and you just continued and it would just be now.
Yeah, but if the front of your bike sticks out, like if I'm thinking that they're parking them sideways in there or
on
somewhat of an angle, as long as it's not impeding into the travel portion of the roadway, you're good.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, and I've always taken up. I don't sit when you park a motorcycle against the curb. It's wheel to the curb. So usually it's about on a 45-degree angle and so on. So yeah, you stack them up until they fit, and then you move on to the next spot.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Can I take a picture of my car ownership instead of carrying the original? You can have a photocopy, but you can't have a photo in your phone of it. It has to be a true copy, front and back, and it's a physical piece of paper. Or you can have the original, but you can't have a photo of it. And that goes for your driver's license as well. Well, no, it doesn't. You have to have the actual physical card. No photocopy will be accepted. And for your insurance, it has to be the original pink slip or an electronic version. Electronic version isn't a photo either. That is an app or something that your company has provided you as proof of insurance.
It's actually recommended not to carry the original ownership in your vehicle.
I 100% agree.
And do you know why?
Well, I don't carry anything in my vehicle. One, because I don't want the original to be, someone to sell my vehicle when I'm not looking. But I don't even want people to be able to find where I live by looking into my car and finding a photocopy. So my ownership is in my wallet, which is in my pocket.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, it's mostly for vehicle theft. And it takes 2 seconds to put a car up on Kijiji that you just stole and selling it to an unsuspecting buyer.
Especially if it's a real good deal. Steal of a deal.
Exactly. Sign the back of the ownership, pass it off.
We should talk about, car theft stuff, because we recently talked about that when we went on to the Dave's Corner Garage radio show.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And catalytic converter thefts.
Yes. Do you know where your catalytic converter is? Do you know what a catalytic converter is? And do you know why people would want to steal it? This and more. We should do a podcast episode on it.
Yeah, we could.
I think we will, because we're at 11 o'clock, so we can't really get into a long, in-depth discussion about car theft. But we're going to do an episode for TPS Traffic Jam. Maybe we can record that today, because we need an episode. We need episode 4. We got all sorts of stuff in the mix for upcoming episodes, but we don't have one for for right now. Hey, we just lost the people from Instagram and I didn't even say goodbye. Oh, well. Let's grab a couple extra questions since they've left. Let's go. What do we have here? Emergency vehicle moved to nearest curb 100% to the right. No, we covered that already. It's to the nearest curb if it's a divided highway, but we are always hoping people are going to move to the right. And when people go to the left, we're very often, telling them to go to the right anyway.
Yeah.
We
absolutely.
look for the waving hands. If you're doing something wrong, we'll be giving you the and then move over, and we're waving.
If you have time, move to the right. If you're on a two-way road and there's only one lane in each direction, you have to move to the right.
Absolutely. Can I have a car meet with my buddies in a parking lot? So car meets is a pretty open statement. Can you go have a coffee with friends at Timmy's? Sure. I did that all my young life. That was where we were till 4 a.m. when the place was. But it was because you're legally there having coffee. You're a patron. You're there under that permission. Are you doing burnouts in the parking lot? No, you can't do that. So can you have a car show without permission of the property owner? No, you shouldn't be doing that either. But if they tell you, sure, go to the Canadian Tire and say, can I have 20 of my favorite friends showing off our cars in the parking lot? And they say, yeah. Some places will support you and give you balloons.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Parking lots are private property. They may be open access, but they're private property. And if you're doing something there, first of all, that the owner doesn't want you to do or doesn't like, you can't do it.
Alan came in from Twitch, late but not too late. Says, good morning, Sean and moderators. Happy Monday. Thanks for the hello.
Hey, Sean, what about me?
He totally left you out.
I know.
Well, he may not, when he typed it, maybe you were off elsewhere. Okay. We have a question of why do you guys care so much about modifications? You know what? Modifications, when they are legal, we don't have a problem with them. If they're safe and they're legal, they're really not something we care about. If they're illegal, and they're usually illegal because they're unsafe, well, obviously we care about them because we care about you and we care about the public that you might get involved in collisions with who, just because you decide to look cool.
You know what? Modifications are a big, heated topic because so many people like doing it. But there's no regulations on what they can sell. You go to a Canadian Tire or any other auto parts store and you get a license plate cover for it. Just a plastic cover. You're going to read on there that says for show use only.
Not for road use.
Check local laws. Mm-hmm. But you know what? People don't look at that. And people will put it on anyways and go, well, I just bought it, so... But is there a reason why you can't have a tinted license plate cover? Yeah, probably there is.
It's amazing. And I challenge everyone who's watching right now, on your drive home today, when you go out for lunch, have a look. Can we see anyone who, can you read all the plates? When there's tinted visors, can you read the license plate? And at a glance, do you think that a police officer would have to spend more time to look at that? If they were involved in a collision and fleeing, would you as a pedestrian be able to identify that vehicle and tell the police who just hit that person who was jogging? You know what? There's reasons why these things exist and why there are safety standards. That's what it is. Speaking of all of this modification stuff, on Friday, Erase was launched. Erase for this year was launched. And the York Regional Police, Ministry of Transportation, Peel Regional Police, Toronto Police Service, and the OPP got together and went off and did some enforcement. And they're going to be doing enforcement as a team on a regular basis. So if you've got illegal modifications, look out. We're looking too. And as a result of this little get-together, 4 stunt drivers were charged. 1 person was taken off the road, no insurance. 15 vehicles were taken off the road for being unsafe. 130 other HTA violations were charged, and of those, the majority were safety and muffler related. There were also 4 criminal charges laid. Now, some of them were one of them was at least for dangerous driving, and a couple of them were one of them was for a wanted person, and then somebody else was, or I think 2 of them were based on not being on condition. So they weren't out there, doing. One was criminal behavior because of the driving, but the others were unrelated. They just happened to be driving cars that were also violating other laws. And then there were some cannabis charges, and people lost their licenses because of that for suspension. So there's a ton of stuff that we found as a result of going and looking at people who were violating. So nobody got pulled over just for being pulled over. They got pulled over because they were doing something or had a vehicle that was unsafe or modified to the point where there was concern for safety and they were investigated.
You know what? If you're getting together with your buddies, don't get into that group mentality where you think it's cool and you'll get away with it, because we are now targeting people like that drive and act that way.
Well, it's not. And I always say that we're not targeting the people; we're targeting the behavior. If you do things, we're seeing it. It's there. It's not like we're not going out. We're not going to ignore the guy in a Volkswagen Beetle because his stock. He's not allowed to do it. We're not targeting someone who likes cars versus doesn't like cars. We're targeting behavior, and part of that behavior is modifications that would make a vehicle unsafe, and that's it. I can appreciate that people think that we're coming after you because you may identify as being with a particular community. But again, if you're not breaking the law, there's no one going to get charged if you don't break the law. If you don't do something that makes the vehicle unsafe, we're not taking your car off the road for it. Although you may have the opinion that it's not unsafe, and we may have a different opinion. That's a different story.
You know what? Safe is safe, right? And that's the whole goal here.
Yeah, 100%. We want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to go home safe and sound. We don't want you to be responsible for taking a life or sending someone to the hospital injured. It's just there's so many potential bad days. So that's the whole goal. Make everybody safe. All right, we have gone a little over, but it was a worthy conversation that went late. What do we got? I'm just looking at the comments because very rarely do I look at the comments, and we have here a whole conversation that's got, nothing to do with what I was talking about. But it's been a pleasure. If you don't already follow us, please do. Know that we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to do this all over again. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. I forgot to put the music on as I said that.
Oh, there you go.
And we like this music. It's very chill.
Like this music. And
Ryan Pinn is still vacuuming in his car for beagle hair. All right. We'll do the countdown. But see you tomorrow, and we'll put up some videos today and get back into the creator mix.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,